Welcome to Returning to the Body Mind with your host, Dr. Melissa West. As a yoga instructor and yoga therapist, Melissa facilitates a process of listening to the wisdom of your body for self-awareness, understanding, affirmation, and transformation. Returning to the Body Mind offers the opportunity to turn inward and through the intelligence of your body find the answers about yourself and your life. Now, here's your host, Dr. Melissa West.
Well, hello and welcome to Contact Talk Radio. You're listening to Returning to the Body Mind on Wednesday, December the 23rd. And I'm your host, Dr. Melissa West, coming to you live from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, as I do every Wednesday at 8 a.m. I'm so happy that you could join us today. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening. This morning, I'm going to be talking with Kelly Childs. Kelly Childs is a dear friend of mine who I have admired for her commitment to her vegan and raw lifestyle, and her compassion for animals and planet Earth is just totally unparalleled. Her passion for food and nutrition is inspiring, and I'm excited to be able to talk to her today about celebrating Christmas and the holidays as a vegan in a culture that oftentimes celebrates holidays around meat. So welcome, Kelly.
Hello, Melissa. How are you?
I'm doing great. Why don't you, I know you well, but why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself and how you came to choose a vegan and raw food lifestyle as a way of life for you?
Okay. Well, for me, it wasn't really a sort of a clear-cut sort of day of defining moment and left all animal products behind. It was sort of a gradual thing. So I'm now 46. I feel like I'm 20, and I started out first off giving up veal at around 21 years of age or so, and that was for ethical reasons, and then I gave up milk at 28, and then pork and beef at probably around 30, and then I just gave up poultry about 4 years ago, seafood then about a year and a half ago, and then dairy, and all of them had sort of different reasons for me. They all, though, accumulated into one particular point when I watched a documentary called Earthlings. And for me, that was probably a pivotal point for me that I said, well, no, I could never go back to eating meat again. And that documentary was so profound. But in saying that, giving up these products for health reasons, too, was a great thing for me. I noticed so many positive changes and lost, excess body fat. My shape is better than ever. My skin is really flawless. My hair shines differently. I no longer feel sluggish or bloated. So it's all sort of, I guess, backed me in what my decisions were. But the reasons really were ethical.
So interesting because, today I wanted us to have a conversation. So for me, the decision to go vegan was a total health choice. And just, when I was pregnant with my daughter Trinity, it was just that, I couldn't actually, there was something about having a life growing in me and then eating another piece of life on a piece of plate was just, it was awful for me. I couldn't do it. I couldn't eat meat throughout my entire pregnancy. And then sort of after I gave birth to Trinity, I tried going back to it, and I thought, you know what, this really isn't working for me. The quality of the meat that was available was just becoming more and more gross and disgusting. So for me, it was a total health choice. And over time, having made that choice around health, over time it has also become a more compassionate choice around wanting to have nonviolence in this world and nonviolence towards myself, my own body, and nonviolence towards the animals and the planet as well. So I think it's interesting how people come from different points of view.
Right.
And
absolutely.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that.
And so there's lots of different reasons why, you might want to become, and I think it's interesting that we kind of came from two different ends. Now, over the holidays, being a vegan can be kind of challenging. Maybe why do you think that is?
Well, I think it can be challenging over the holidays because we go back home and visit our families that maybe we haven't seen for months or maybe even sometimes years, or maybe we are close to them too. But a lot of times we don't see them sort of on a daily basis, and we do end up being closer to friends than we do even family. But when we go home to our family, they kind of mirror us because they mirror our childhood beliefs and values, and you idolize mommy and daddy, and what they say to you can be so hurtful and disapproving. And my daughter is actually experiencing this right now with one of her friends' parents, and it's just another story in itself. But I'll maybe talk about that a little bit later. But it's hard because food is a belief system, and if I don't say I'm not doing animal anymore, I'm not doing animal products anymore, there's automatically something wrong with that whole concept to them, because it's like a belief system. It's almost like a religion. Veganism can be like, a religious sort of thing to them. It's like taboo, and our families are so close to us, and they feel that if we're not accepting them and we're not accepting meat anymore, we're kind of not accepting them. And then they start, sort of disapproving of us, and it's kind of like a back and forth sort of push and pull of who has the right way of eating and who's got the wrong way of eating. And I think that we really need to do more of an acceptance. If I choose to not eat animal, I don't want to impose my beliefs on them. So you really have to kind of go through sort of a non-judgmental and accept all the family idiosyncrasies that go on the dinner table there, and watching that big bird get carved up. And, how do you handle that? Very hard. For me, I have a very hard time seeing people eat meat now.
I know, and I find it interesting when I go out with my grandparents, God bless them, and they love to take us to the Golf and Country Club, and they all order a rack of lamb, and it's this beautifully presented piece of meat on this bone, and it's presented in a way that's supposed to be aesthetically pleasing, and yet there has to be this real disconnect from, where that bone came from.
Absolutely.
It's enough to make me cry. Yeah. I know when you shared the Earthlings video with us, Trinity, my daughter and I sat down to watch it together, and Trinity was right out bawling within about 10 minutes, and we had to turn it off.
And it's impossible to not. But the people that don't want to see that video are the ones that are just living in complete denial, And I do think that there's a little bit of convincing that can go on. Like, I do think that the holidays could be an opportunity to sort of sit back and actually maybe, show them how cool it is to eat vegan and the really cool food that vegans do eat. And, there's just so much resistance. And the one little story I was going to say was about my daughter. She had a friend in university, and her dad is actually a doctor, a medical doctor. And when he found out she had turned vegan, he absolutely flipped out on her and told her that she was going to be killing herself. And it's where are you going to get your proteins from? And I know we're going to talk about this later. There's so much conditioning as to, eating properly and stuff. And this is where our families are so protective of us. They really, really believe that we're not going to get the proper protein or the proper calcium or the proper iron and stuff, right? It's very, very funny. So anyways, that's where I'm at over the holidays.
Yeah, it's tough. But let's talk about some of the ways that making vegan choices over the holidays actually does really encompass the spirit of the holidays. So, the one thing that I love about veganism for me is that, there's no difference between the way I eat, my spiritual practice, the way I do my yoga, the way I do my meditation. They're all become one. So I just love how veganism can be a spiritual practice. Why don't we talk about that a bit?
Sure. Well, absolutely, because when we stop ingesting something that has been, I'm going to say murdered, that there's been cruelty inflicted upon it, we don't take in that energy anymore. So there's an automatic connection, which is just so fascinating to me, that the evolution I've been through, even like the last, year and a half, 2 years, when I actually said no to seafood and no to dairy, and I'm just, completely cleansed now. And this spiritualness comes up within you, and you walk on the ground differently. There's a connection to Mother Earth differently, and it just happens. So there's way more compassion. You have way more love and this feeling of nonviolence, and you look at people differently, and you look at animals differently, and you treat your body more gently. You treat it more as a temple because you are giving it this beautiful nourishment and not feeding it dead flesh, right? You're giving it, beautiful, beautiful food. So it's an amazing shift, and it's something that you don't kind of do it for that reason. The shift just happens, and all of a sudden you're waking up one morning. Yeah, it does.
And then it's almost like it happens, and then there's some awareness that comes around it. Oh, well, I'm doing this or I'm not doing this because, and wow, my practice has really affected me. Since the summer, we've been chanting in our yoga classes, and in my practice, we've been chanting Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, which means may all beings everywhere be happy and free, and may the thoughts, words, and actions of my own life contribute to the happiness and freedom for all. And, it's a beautiful chant, and we've been chanting it. I know, it makes you want to cry every time you hear it. There's a compassion. And one thing that I've noticed is that, yeah, you know what, this chant is changing me because I realize there's some awareness that the actions, the words, the thoughts that I'm having, that I want them to create happiness and freedom for all. And that's really powerful when you start to really live your spiritual practice. And I think eating just has to be part of that.
Absolutely. I mean, because that's how you are created. Every cell, every part of your very being is nourished with the food you're taking in through your mouth. You're not created any other way. Your cells die and they replicate and duplicate, right? And, I think it's within a 2-year period that all of your cells are completely brand new. Mm-hmm. So, in 2 years' time, you can be a brand new you, right? But you're being nourished then with, plant-based as opposed to an animal-based diet. So, yeah, fascinating.
Well, the other thing that's really cool about that is in the yoga tradition, there's a theory of the body around the 5 koshas, the 5 layers of the body. And the first layer of the body is the Annamaya kosha. And that translates literally as the food body. And it's the physical body. So it's absolutely saying that you are what you eat.
Yes.
And I just love that.
Absolutely. That's great.
Yeah. Okay, one of the other questions that I wanted to ask you before we go into the break here is some tips that you might have or advice you might have, like for what to do when you become this weirdo outsider for the choices when you're celebrating with your friends and your family and your coworkers, right?
It's so funny you say that because it's like you're walking down the street and they go, "Oh my God, here comes that vegan. Oh my God, that damn vegan. She ruins everything for us, We can't even enjoy this turkey anymore." Isn't that true? So, you get exhausted by these snide comments and challenges, and it is painful though after a while. For me, I can go to be in a grocery store. I could be walking down the street. I'll be in I was going to say a coffee shop. I don't even do coffee anymore. So a green tea shop. And you get people asking, so what do you do to, look like that and, get that kind of workout figure and stuff? And I said, well, I really don't work out a lot, but, I eat really well. I'm a vegan. And oh my God, their eyeballs pop out of their head, right? Because, you're just this strange, twisted person. So, but I think that it's a wonderful thing because meeting strangers and, and to me, I like meeting strangers the best. But with family, friends, and coworkers, and you're celebrating with them, it's always more of a challenge because they know you more personally, and they probably, you get a little bit more hurt by them. You don't become hurtful. But it's always an opportunity, though, to sort of talk about what you do, and in a nice, again, non-judgmental, non-confrontational way to sort of say, how you eat, and it's like a gentle food, and don't come across as being an activist. Come across as being an advocate. That's what I like to call myself. I'm an advocate. Mm-hmm. I'm not an activist about animals. I'm an advocate about health and saving the planet and helping the animals. And
but this brings up a really interesting point, right? Which is that vegan and animal rights activists are often painted as violent and threatening when in reality they're trying to stop violence.
Yes, I know we were going to talk about that today. And it is amazing because it's what the media, again, wants us to believe. So you have big industries like the meat industry and the dairy industry and the egg industry that hire on people to produce these kind of effects at, say, a PETA organization or a Greenpeace organization, and there happens to be always journalists there to take those pictures, this is how I believe it to be happening anyway. Because how would a person who wants to promote, saving animals and saving their lives and not eat an animal-based diet, how are we cruel when there's 10 billion animals a year murdered in the United States of America alone for the sake of eating hot dogs and hamburgers and steaks and, chicken sandwiches? So, that doesn't make sense to me. So I guess, we aren't violent and we aren't threatening. We are totally interested in ending cruelty. So the advice I would have for that is, again, to still stay close to your passion.
Now, when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about some of the specific questions that we get inundated with again and again and again so that we can help prepare you so that you've got your answers ready. Sound good?
Perfect. Sounds good to me.
Great. I'm Dr. Melissa West, yoga teacher, yoga therapist, and host of Returning to the Body Mind. Today we're talking to my guest, Kelly Childs. To find out more about yoga with me or Kelly Childs, check out my website, www.melissawest.com. Stay with us, and we will be right back.
Discover a powerful mind-body system that has helped thousands of people achieve inner peace and fulfillment. Phoenix Rising Yoga Therapy uses yogic approaches to deepen presence and awareness to know ourselves more fully. Out of this knowing, we are more easily moved to embrace the opportunity for change, growth, and enhanced well-being. Through assisted yoga postures and non-directive dialogue, Phoenix Rising practitioners guide clients to experience the connection of their physical and emotional selves. You will learn how to recognize and release the body-stored memories, fears, and traumas that trap you in the past. You will discover how to embrace your daily joys and fears to live your life to the fullest and find your own true self. To find out more about their training programs or to find a practitioner near you, go to www.pryt.com, as in PhoenixRisingYogaTherapy.com. Begin your career today in Thai massage or expand your current massage and healing modality. Thai Massage Toronto courses are ideal for massage therapists, yoga, Pilates, and fitness instructors, or anyone interested in learning this dynamic ancient art form. Thai Massage Toronto is approved by the NCB, TMB, and CMTO as a continuing education approved provider. Begin your career today. Deanna Villa, Master Teacher, Practitioner, and Doctor of Natural Medicine, offers 12 years of therapeutic hands-on experience and teaches internationally. TMT is an accredited school. Visit them online at ThaiMassageToronto.com. That's www.ThaiMassageToronto.com or call 416-234-0011.
Welcome back. You're listening to Returning to the Body Mind on Contact Talk Radio, and I'm your host, Melissa West. Just before we go back to my guest, Kelly Childs, today and our discussion about celebrating Christmas and the holidays vegan style, I want to thank all my listeners who have signed up for my weekly newsletter. Everybody who has signed up receives a free newsletter each Tuesday and also a chakra balancing e-course. And every time I tell you that each week, I think, I really need to update that, change that up a bit. Anyway, I designed this course to balance the energy centers in your body, and I do enjoy sharing my ideas. I usually write an article each week about something that's come up for me in my meditation practice or some sort of spiritual practice that I'm working on that week, and that usually is what gets included in the newsletter. Also, it tells you about my free weekly yoga video podcast and upcoming guests on my radio show, and we've got some great guests coming up for you in the new year. So if you'd like to get that newsletter, you can go to my website, www.melissawest.com, and put your email address in the box in the center of the page, and you can get that delivered to your email each week. just a couple of things coming up that I wanted to let you know about, too. In February, I'm holding my next yoga retreat, February 26th, 27th, and 28th, and that is at Harmony Dawn Retreat Center here in southwestern Ontario, just about an hour and a half outside of Toronto. So that's going to be a fabulous weekend of meditation and yoga practice. We do sleep yoga practice there, and of course all vegetarian meals too, which is lovely. I would encourage you to check out Namaste Yoga at www.namasteyoga.blip.tv. Over the holiday season, we're going to treat you with a wonderful yoga nidra practice, some sleep yoga to allow you to totally de-stress over the holidays. And for our sponsors, Phoenix Rising Yoga Therapy, as many of you know, I will be traveling to Bristol, Vermont in January to continue my training there, to finish up my training as a yoga therapist. But in February, they will be in Florida, also in London, Ontario, Canada. And then in March, they will be in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And in April, they will be in Phoenix, Arizona. So check that out. They're probably coming to a town close to you, too. Now, before the break, Kelly Childs and I were talking about how to deal with family and coworkers and friends that maybe are a little hard on you. And you know, they always hit you with the questions, and they're pretty unoriginal, actually. They're usually pretty much the same in my experience. So that's the good thing. You get good at answering them. So let me drill you, okay? I'll be the brother-in-law or sister-in-law or mother-in-law or father-in-law or mother.
This is always fun, I find.
Okay.
This is the fun part.
So Kelly, how do you get your protein?
Okay, so this is classic. This is like classic from strangers and family and friends alike. We get this question, don't we, Melissa? So
like every time, yeah.
The way that I try to say it now is not really being a smart aleck like, but the reality is this is how I do get it. I get it from the same place cows get it. So, you know, you get your protein funneled through that cow and eat that cow, but I get mine directly from the source what the cow eats. So I get it from my grains and my grass and my vegetables. So it makes a lot of sense. So, and funny part of it is, too, is that the protein that you get directly from the plants is actually more easily assimilated in our bodies than eating the protein from an animal, which is foreign for us to break down. And just to let you know this, too, it takes 72 hours for animal protein to go through your body than plant-based protein. Plant-based protein gets into your system within 10 to 15 minutes. It gets actually into your bloodstream. But with animal protein, it takes 72 hours to go through your intestinal tract, hence.
So I'm just trying to wrap my head around that. For people that eat meat every single day, like they're probably backlogged to like 1973 for their digestion then.
Well, 100%. So when people do these colon hydrotherapy colonic sessions, you're getting sometimes 20 years of sludge, I call it, out of your body. It's remarkable. Really remarkable. But we've been convinced, too, that we need 20 to 30% of our diet to be protein. So in all fairness to these people that do ask that question, they've been conditioned since being little boys and little girls that, you know, drink your milk, eat your meat, you know, you need your protein. But we only really need 6 to 8% of our diet to be protein, to be healthy, and to be in more of an alkaline and less of an acidic body. So the way you get that absolutely naturally is plants. So kale or spinach or arugula, for example, those dark greens, they're already naturally 6 to 8% protein, which blows most people's minds away when you actually say, "Oh, there's protein in plants? Oh my goodness!" You know, they don't believe that. So we naturally get our protein from an unprocessed source, and it's just directly from Mother Earth. So that's where I get my protein.
I love that. Yeah, and the thing that what always goes on in my head, there's the angel answer which you just gave, but then the little devil sits on the other shoulder. And it always wants to say, where do you get your 10 to 15 servings of fruits and vegetables a day?
Right. That would be very smart, Alec. I
always want to say it.
And they don't, because that's right.
No, you know they don't, but nobody's asking them that.
It's so true. Okay, so what's the next question? I'm ready for this now.
So, Kelly, how do you get your calcium? Aren't your bones breaking if you fall?
So, again, the same answer. I get my calcium directly from my green vegetables, especially. I'll give you just even a sample because I was sort of waiting for these kind of questions. So, arugula, for example, has 1,300 milligrams of calcium per 100-calorie serving. And to compare that to milk has only 190 milligrams per 100-calorie serving. So arugula is 6 times higher in calcium than milk. So, and what happens, too, is when we do drink milk, when people think that's how you get your calcium, when you do drink milk, milk creates acidity in your body because it's an animal protein. And when acidity goes into your body and, and the acidity levels go up, your body goes, oh, my goodness, we have to fight this. Acidity is not good for me. So it will actually pull the calcium out of your bones and your teeth, hence leading to osteoporosis and losing bone density. So the people that do drink milk on an ongoing basis, to the tune of maybe 76,000 glasses in a lifetime, which is 3 glasses a day, have the highest incidence of osteoporosis. So when you take in a clean source, like a plant source calcium, you don't need any supplementation. You're getting it all naturally from vegetables.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
It's remarkable.
And I'm just looking at this little list of some of those foods that are very high in calcium, like almonds and kale and black molasses. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, almond milk. I'll make an almond milk smoothie. I'll put some kale in it. Can you imagine a little bit of molasses in that?
Yeah.
And
that would be great.
Has iron in it too, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
And even sesame seeds are very high in calcium too, and people don't even know that. Sesame seeds are very simple. You can just sprinkle them on salads all the time.
Yes, so good. And they add such a nice flavor too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, so the other question of concern that we get all the time too is iron, and I hear people all the time tell me, "Wow, I have to have a little bit of steak every week just so that I get my iron." And you should be concerned about that as a woman, especially because you menstruate. And so, what do we say to that?
Well, again, I guess I'm going to sound like a broken record, but the best source of iron are your dark green vegetables like spinach, the greens that are on the top of beets. Like, you never throw those out. Those are really valuable. They're called beet greens, and even something like cucumber. So you get way more iron in arugula or spinach or the beet greens than beef or milk combined. Again, spinach you get 11.3 milligrams per 100-calorie serving, and steak you'll get 1.9 milligrams per 100-calorie serving.
When you look at the numbers, right?
It's fascinating. Yeah, absolutely fascinating. And what we also don't get to, when we are taking in iron and we're taking in calcium and we're taking in protein, let's just say from an animal source, what we're totally lacking is fiber. And you really need to ingest fiber for this stuff to actually be moved through your body. That's we're so fiber deficient. So the best way to get fiber is from a plant-based diet. So if you're already taking in those green vegetables, they're also too very high in fiber. So you're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone with having really, really healthy intake of greens.
Okay, a couple of other arguments that I've heard from my friends, family. Now, this one tends to be a little more sophisticated. I'm always like, wow, that's a little more sophisticated question. But what about vitamin B12?
Well, vitamin B12 is something that we do. Like I do take a supplement for it now.
Me too.
And it's really you do, and it's really the only one. Even vitamin D I do in the winter time because we just don't get enough sunshine. As you live closer to the equator, you don't need vitamin D, and there's less autoimmune diseases closer to the equator because of the sun. But vitamin B12 we do have to, and really it's because our soils are so deficient. So it really doesn't matter if you are in a meat-eating diet or in a plant-based diet. Majority of our diets of our people's diets are all lacking of B12, just because the soil nowadays has been so raped and pillaged from all its vitamins and minerals. Very hard vitamin to get out of the soil, and that's where it comes from. So we do have to supplement. And that's really the only thing I take.
Yeah, my naturopath has me on a B supplement. He also has me on an iron supplement, and a few others for specific health issues that I'm working with. But yes, I mean, there's a couple, and I think, no big deal there.
Right, a far cry from, being in a meat-eating diet and having the potential of having heart disease and diabetes and all those other things that go with eating meat.
Yeah, so. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, this one I love. This is one from my brother-in-law, and I'm not talking about you, Simon. I love you, baby Simon. But okay, this is one. He says, I got these teeth, and they're made for eating meat, and so I'm going to eat meat as long as I have these teeth.
Okay. Well, I guess, we all have varying opinions of this, and you can read and take out of it, what you want to get,
I've heard it go both ways, yeah.
I believe our teeth are for grinding grains and for grinding greens. We don't have all, the canines. We only have 2 of them, right? Or I guess 2 on the top and 2 on the bottom. But they're not really for tearing flesh, because I believe our jaws and our teeth most resemble the primates, which is, the gorillas and the apes, who use their canines for protection, not for eating meat. And, I guess, too, it kind of goes hand in hand with the way that our intestines are shaped. And, we've got about 20 feet of intestines. And, the dogs and cats, for example, just have, like, a straight, it's like a 1 foot long intestine. So, they can eat a mouse or a bird or something, and it just, comes out and doesn't affect them in any way. But we really, as far as I'm concerned, are not meant to do it. I was reading a really great little story about that. And, we don't run through the pasture, with our knife and fork and our teeth, blaring, and attacking that cow and start tearing that cow to smithereens. No, we let the butcher chop them up for us. And, we cook it first, right? Yeah. We don't go and tear it and eat it raw, Yeah. So are we really carnivores? I don't know, because we don't eat our meat raw like dogs and cats and tigers and lions and those kind of ones.
Well, this is one of the other things. When I was getting ready for this show, too, I was looking on one of these boards, and this one response to this question was, those of you who describe our incisors and the rest of it, I would like to see you bite yourself through the fur and skin and then chew raw meat. And the guy goes, bollocks. Not only are our teeth not designed for that, but we don't have enough strength in our jaws and our necks to do that. I just thought that was great. I've heard that argument go either way, so, Okay, this is another one that really gets me going. What about all those animal farmers that you're going to put out of business, Kelly, by not eating animals?
Wow. Well, that's if someone ever asked me that question, I think I would probably have an instant little hissy fit on them, because that really bothers me a lot, because people are so ignorant. They think, Farmer Brown is down the street and he's got his little cows and his horses and his pigs and his chickens, right? And he's raising them, for us to eat. There's just some major players out there. Tyson Chickens is one of them, and huge U.S. player, number one chicken hatchery in the United States, and I think to the tune of, is it 6 billion chickens a year. They those are the males that end up dying, the male chickens, because they're not good for laying eggs or anything. So they're obviously generating at least 12 billion chickens just from that one particular facility. It's a big business, and I think that there is absolutely no way that these farmers, these little unique farmers, can go out of business if we stop eating meat. Those particular farmers, those little mom-and-pop shops, hopefully they're evolving and starting to grow soy or hemp or something that's a little bit more progressive for the future, because the milk industry and the egg industry and the beef and chicken and turkey industry and pig industry is just so powerfully large that it has to operate on a huge scale. A factory farm lot, or feed lot they call it, now there's approximately, I think, 100,000 cattle, and they're crammed into these, a 4x6 sort of little cage. They don't even get a chance to spin around, but that's their life, right? Just to eat, and grow meat, and they're treated like a crop. These little farmers are not going to go out of business. They've already gone out of business.
Yeah,
right?
They're so exploited and bankrupted. It's not even.
They're long gone. Yeah. So that would be kind of my answer. It'd probably be very long.
Me too. If you're not concerned about the exploitation of animals, at least you can be worried about the exploitation of the farmers, because that's just as bad. Yeah. All right, we need to take another break, and when we come back from the break, we're going to turn it around a little bit. We're going to talk about gift giving and food choices and how we can really uplift the holiday season with our beliefs and our lifestyle. So I'm Dr. Melissa West, and you're listening to Returning to the Body Mind on Contact Talk Radio. To learn more about yoga with me or more about my guest, Kelly Childs, check out my website, www.melissawest.com. Stay with us, and we'll be right back.
Discover a powerful mind-body system that has helped thousands of people achieve inner peace and fulfillment. Phoenix Rising Yoga Therapy uses yogic approaches to deepen presence and awareness to know ourselves more fully. Out of this knowing, we are more easily moved to embrace the opportunity for change, growth, and enhanced well-being. Through assisted yoga postures and non-directive dialogue, Phoenix Rising practitioners guide clients to experience the connection of their physical and emotional selves. You will learn how to recognize and release the body-stored memories, fears, and traumas that trap you in the past. You will discover how to embrace your daily joys and fears to live your life to the fullest and find your own true self. To find out more about their training programs or to find a practitioner near you, go to www.pryt.com, as in PhoenixRisingYogaTherapy.com.
Did you know that you can rate this show on iTunes? The show you're listening to right now. It's true. You can leave your thoughts about the show, the topic, the guest. You can even leave a suggestion. Then, before you leave, rate the show. The hosts love hearing from you, so next time you download this show from iTunes, leave your thoughts and rate the show for the host and for others.
Begin your career today in Thai massage or expand your current massage and healing modality. Thai Massage Toronto courses are ideal for massage therapists, yoga, Pilates, and fitness instructors, or anyone interested in learning this dynamic ancient art form. Thai Massage Toronto is approved by the NCB, TMB, and CMTO as a continuing education approved provider. Begin your career today. Deanna Villa, Master Teacher Practitioner and Doctor of Natural Medicine, offers 12 years of therapeutic hands-on experience and teaches internationally. TMT is an accredited school. Visit them online at ThaiMassageToronto.com. That's www.ThaiMassageToronto.com or call 416-234-0011.
Welcome back. You're listening to Returning to the Body Mind on Contact Talk Radio, and I'm here with my guest, Kelly Childs, and we are talking about celebrating the holidays vegan style. And in this final segment of the show, I really wanted to talk about how we can be generous in our vegan lifestyle. And I know this is something that, because we are such close friends, this is something we like to do, is get together over the holidays and cook together. And we've talked a lot this season about our giving really reflecting our beliefs. So maybe let's start with that. How can our gift giving reflect our beliefs?
Well, our gift giving, I think, can reflect our beliefs in that, what I do is the World Wildlife Fund, Farm Sanctuary, Melissa and I, we even adopted turkeys this year, and it was great. The Farm Sanctuary is this wonderful little place down in New York State, and they've got over 1,000 factory farmed animals that have been rescued from factory farm institutions, and they were going to be slaughtered, and they've now got these happy little lives living on this little farm. So you can do these great little things. The World Wildlife Fund has, adopting an emperor penguin or adopting a polar bear. You $40, $50, but you get a little stuffed animal, but you also get this little adoption certificate, and it's so wonderful for the kids. I think at very young ages, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years of age, to get them to feel for the planet, to know that it's not all about consumerism, and to really sort of stop this consumerism, what Christmas has really become all about. I think it could even, going to Christmas dinners is, and I know we're going to talk about this in a bit, but bringing a little vegan potluck. You're going to bring dishes to a Christmas dinner, and you're sharing the knowledge that you've got and the health you've got and the health that you're acquiring from becoming vegan. But I think the gift giving could be all about, doing baskets, and maybe a great book. You could put a nice vegan cookbook in there, and maybe a book called The China Study, which is a great book to learn about the health effects of being vegan, and maybe an adoption certificate, adopting a polar bear, something that hits sort of all facets of their life. And that's what I'm doing this year. Not to give any of my presents away. Hopefully no one will know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know you mentioned that you gave your husband a polar bear for his birthday this year, and I thought, wow, that's so great. So we went and we did the same thing for my nieces and my nephews, and my daughter are all adopting animals from World Wildlife Foundation for this Christmas. Yeah. And then here's another one that's where I found I had to really work with my beliefs a little bit and be very conscious about it, because I also went with another organization called Feed the Children. And I had to make very conscious choices to choose to give gifts that weren't about giving animals. Then it was like I was going to give seeds or avocado trees or fruit trees, something like that, so that I was making sure that it was lining up with my truth right now too. So that could work that way too.
And giving them a tree is something that's going to grow every year. If you bought them, say, a goat, then I guess it would be for milk for them. It wouldn't be about slaughtering it. But the tree would be growing and perpetuating every year. Yeah,
for sure, and creating new seeds too. Okay, so let's talk about celebrating, and let's talk about tips for. Well, I don't know. I always have to travel at family occasions. So what can we bring along with us to add to the family meal?
Oh, okay. Well, I guess that's kind of what would I bring along? There's great stews out there, let's say Moroccan stews or polenta dishes, things that are easy kind of to whip up. You can do a great risotto, and that kind of like say mushroom risotto, obviously dairy-free one, and made with a mushroom sauce, and you can do that with nuts. But Melissa and I have great links and stuff for some great recipes. But to come with something like that, then the rest of the family gets to try it, right? So you get to try the different flavors. Like, a Moroccan stew might be full of some great a curry taste to it, or corianders and cumin. And but they get to have other flavors and bring some exotic, maybe ethnicity to Christmas, and not just keep it so focused on what the family does for the last 56 years. I think it's important to get progressive and to bring in some really, really other very cool ideas. They do an Indian dish, or you could actually do something like a nut-crusted tempeh, or I know you do a fabulous nut loaf, Melissa. And you just bring something.
I wanted to give a little plug for that, because that's from a fabulous book called Enlightened Eating, Nourishment for Body and Soul by Caroline Dupont. And she lives in the Toronto area just like us. And she has this is my go-to recipe for Sunday dinners in the winter and for Thanksgiving and holidays. It's a cashew carrot nut loaf, and it's just delicious, and I do it up with a gravy. Now, I find that one doesn't travel so well, because you kind of need to, it would, but it's nice warm. And I find everybody's ovens are full with the bird and stuff, so that's not so good. So I find traveling with my crock pot is just probably the best thing. We're always sitting in the car going, oh my God, it smells so good all the way there.
But that's a great idea.
Yeah.
That's a fabulous idea.
And then you just plug in. And I know, Kelly, you have inspired me so much around raw eating too, that I think, you know what, we don't even need an oven anymore. I can can do up a fabulous raw meal to take with me. And
so
Kelly
true.
and I were at this great cooking class last weekend where Doug McNish, is that right?
Yeah, Doug McNish. Yep.
Doug McNish from Raw Aura. He was teaching us how to make a carrot and parsnip with
fettuccine.
pesto. Fettuccine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I when they were showing us that, I kept banging Kelly on the arm, going, "Oh my God, I could make this the night before and put it in my cooler and take it with me." And that's so easy.
It was so simple, and it was just a healthy pesto that went with it, with lots of hemp seeds in it. And he did a great job, and it was done in 5 minutes. It was just
it was so easy, and it looked so impressive too. Yeah, so great.
So I agree with you. Those are great ideas.
Do you have another raw dish that you like to use for special occasions?
A raw dish that I would do for special occasions would be my raw lasagna, which is made with the zucchini noodles, and I use a mandolin to make them so paper thin, and just layered with my sun-dried tomato marinara sauce, and I make a macadamia nut cheese with it, and a Brazil nut parmesan, and lots of fresh spinach goes in it too. And you alternate sort of with sliced tomatoes and the zucchini, and layer it up then with the sauce and the cheeses, and it's fabulous. It's actually very good when it sits for about 8, 9, 10 hours, and the flavors just come out of it even more. So it's definitely travel worthy and very impressive for the Christmas table.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm the only one, but for us, Christmas is a road trip. It starts on Christmas Eve, and it doesn't end until after Boxing Day, and we just kind of keep going to the next location. And so this year I decided, you know what? I am packing a cooler. That is just it. We're just going to pack a cooler, and we're just going to eat out of this cooler rather than, inconveniencing everybody and stuff.
Well, I think that's a smart thing to do.
Go ahead.
I think it's a smart thing to do, because we've now eliminated, the white flours, white sugars. It's not just even eating non-animal foods. It's actually eating healthy.
I know, and we're gluten-free now, too, so it's just people look at us and what should I feed you? But the one thing that I find is I usually go with a dish with me, and I always say to my husband, Tim, get up there, honey, because our dish is almost gone, right? What we brought so that we could have something to eat, it always goes right away. So this is just a little tip for you. If you're bringing your food so you have something to eat, make sure you
bring
get
twice
up
as much.
First.
Keep a secret stash in the car for yourself.
Keep a secret stash in the car. And the other thing that I'm planning on making this holiday season is some raw chocolate. And Kelly, I know you make some fabulous raw chocolate too.
I do.
So I think,
truffles are so easy to make. Raw chocolate, raw cacao truffles are so easy to make, and I put maca in them too, and coconut butter, and all these superfoods, goji berries, and it's just. I love living this way, but I also love eating living food. And when you eat something that's alive, think about what it does to your body, right? So that's what the great thing is about, eating this way.
Yeah. It's huge. It's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to hear what are some of your favorite cookbooks and resources.
Okay. Probably one of my favorite book, and really got me on the scientific health aspect of going vegan, and actually made me very angry as to everything that's been kept from us as far as the general public goes. And big corporation has kept us mum about, what we should know and shouldn't know about dairies and beefs and stuff. So that was the China Study by T. Colin Campbell, of all time. And I got the audio book as well for that, so I can listen to it in the car all the time. It hooked me completely and gave me all the scientific data I needed to make an informed choice for myself. My favorite DVD probably is Earthlings. I think Sean Monson just did a fabulous job of that DVD. And he's got a new one coming out called Unity. And it's all about, being kind to each other now, too, on the planet, people to people, and getting rid of war. Mm-hmm. John Robbins' book, A Diet for a New America, that one came out in 1987, but he did a remake of it. It got revised in, I believe it was 2001, so it's a little bit more updated. But, again, he's the heir, or was the heir, or is the heir, I guess, of Baskin-Robbins, but he walked from the millions and he walked from the dairy industry to promote veganism and saving animals from cruelty. Mm-hmm. And then the book that you just got me, by Colleen Patrick Goudreau, The Vegan Table, I've been going through that, love it. Her website's CompassionateCooks.com, and she's fascinating. I really, really like her a lot.
And she has another book that's great at this time of year, if you're still eating gluten and wheat, The Joy of Vegan Baking, too, where she just demystifies the vegan baking. But, yeah, love her. We've had her on the radio show. She's adorable. We just love her.
Yeah. Great personality. And the other guy I like is David Wolf. I just want to say him. I love David. He's a great guy. Yeah. Raw vegan inspiration. He's just so cool. And we're seeing him this Saturday.
We are seeing him this Saturday in Toronto. Okay, I want to give a shout-out for some of my favorites, too. Okay. This is one that you got me, and I adore this book. I can just sit and read this book in bed. I love flipping through it and reading it. The I Am Grateful, Recipes and Lifestyle from Cafe Gratitude. Fabulous stuff for desserts and meals, and I love that book. One of my favorites is Isa Chandra Moskowitz, and her books, Vegan with a Vengeance and Veganomicon. She has a vegan brunch one, which is great this time of year because after Christmas comes Boxing Day, and you all got to eat the next morning, too. And she's got some great stuff for vegan brunches. One of my absolute favorites right now, and I know, Kelly, you really like this one, too, is the Baby Cakes book.
Yeah.
We love their chocolate chip cookies, and we love their brownies. Yeah, everything tastes great.
The Fat Pants cake.
The Fat Pants cake last weekend. So yummy. But all her stuff is vegan, gluten-free, mostly sugar-free. And the brownie recipe we do has some sugar in it, but most of them are sugar-free. Mm-hmm. And then one of my absolute favorite people in the whole world, and another fellow Canadian out on the West Coast, is Drina Burton. And she is just an adorable person, and she has 3 great cookbooks. My favorite still is Vive la Vegan. And she has a great blog that I would encourage you to look up, too. I think it's called Vive la Vegan is the blog, where she... she's got lots, every holiday season she does what she's making for dinner and stuff. So those are some of my favorites that I just wanted to give a shout out for right now, this holiday season as well.
So this is the season to buy stuff for people, right?
Yeah, I had sort of thought that, I think Colleen's book, The Vegan Table, would make a fabulous gift for family because then they would be like, oh, that's what I can make them when they come over. I think this would make a great gift to kind of really demystify. This book is all about entertaining vegan style. So great book. Just totally love it. So what's your biggest piece of advice for our listeners, Kelly?
Okay. My biggest piece of advice would be follow your intelligence. Look around. Do you see a different kind of person walking around the streets now from when you were, say 20, 30 years ago? There's, more obesity, more health problems. Diabetes is the biggest it's ever been. Coronary heart disease, cancers are going through the roof. And we got to ask ourselves why. Why are all these things happening to people, our neighbors, our family, our friends? Why is it happening?
Kelly, how can people find out more about you and the work you're doing, and give them a plug for our video that we just did on the weekend? That was so fun.
Okay. Well, it's the way to get hold of me would be kellychilds.com. And we did a plug. We did this little video, podcast, I guess you'd call it, and it's on Melissa's website with melissawest.com. And we actually made hemp milk, and it was a lot of fun. So you can see us live in action.
Thank you so much for being with us today, Kelly. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
What a great show. You're welcome.
Great. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome. If you enjoyed today's topic, then you'll want to tune in April. Kelly mentioned we're going to be seeing David Wolf this weekend, and I'm going to be having him on the show in April, and we're going to be talking about superfoods. So that will be a supercharged, super energetic show. I can guarantee you that much. Thank you so much for listening in today. I encourage you to go to my website, www.melissawest.com to find out more about yoga and Pilates DVDs with me, Thai massage, and yoga therapy. And when you're there, you can sign up for my newsletter if you just enter the information in the middle of the page. You'll get lots of great articles to find out who's coming up as a guest on the show as well. Remember to check out www.namasteyoga.blip.tv for my free weekly yoga video podcast. I know a lot of you are enjoying this so much, and I so appreciate all the people that are downloading it and doing yoga practice in their homes each week. And if you are enjoying it, do send me some feedback. You can leave a rating on iTunes. You can also leave some feedback there. And if there's certain classes or ideas that you want to see in a class, just drop me an email. You can email me at info@melissawest, that's 1L, 2 S's, .com, or you can even check me out on Facebook too, friend me on Facebook, and we can talk that way too. I'll be back next week with Michael Stone on December the 30th. We're going to be talking about the inner tradition of yoga. And I got to say, we pre-recorded this show because the studio is going to be closed over the holidays, and this was probably one of the highlights of my radio interviewing career. We had such a wonderful conversation. I was saying to my yoga teacher this morning that when I talked to Michael, I had so many questions that I wanted to ask him. And I had them all laid out, and I was like, I got to ask him this, I got to ask him this, I got to ask him this. And as soon as I got him on the phone, it was like, as soon as I got him on the air, it was like, you know what? We're just going to have this conversation. And it was just such a beautiful conversation. I can't wait for you to hear it next week. Remember that you can listen to the archives of my show at www.melissawest.com or sign up to have Returning to the Body Mind automatically downloaded onto your computer through iTunes. If you just go to my website, www.melissawest.com, and click on the radio link, you can get it there, or go to iTunes and search for Returning to the Body Mind. And again, if you can leave a rating and a response, that would be awesome. I would really appreciate that. And thank you to the 50,000 listeners who have already downloaded my show. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm your host, Dr. Melissa West, coming to you live from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, as I do every Wednesday from 8 to 9 a.m. Pacific. Thank you for listening today, and thanks again to my friend Kelly for joining us. Join us next Wednesday at 8 a.m. and bring a friend to Returning to the Body Mind. Stay tuned for Doug Parks and his show, Science for Life. May the rising sun bless your heart with joy, and may the setting sun bless your mind with peace. Namaste.
Thank you for listening to Returning to the Body Mind with your host, Dr. Melissa West. To pick up a yoga video or to download a free weekly video podcast of Melissa's yoga classes, visit www.melissawest.com. That's www.melissawest.com.